Hello, hello. Good morning, everybody. Happy Tuesday. I hope you guys are all doing fantastic today. My name is Jason Krutzky. It is a pleasure to be with you all this morning. It is a big day. We have lots of earnings coming out this week. We've got Microsoft, we've got Meta, we've got Google, Amazon. I was reading it's 42% of the weighting of the S&P is reporting this week. I don't think it's just those four names. I'm not sure exactly where that data point comes from, but that's what I was reading. So big week in the markets, and considering that the indices are they're trading in such a tight range, we have to kind of be on our toes here, because you almost kind of wonder if one of these earnings reports or a few of these earnings reports are going to be the proverbial straw that breaks the camel's back, as they say. How are you guys doing today? There's just a few of you in here. I know it's early, but how are you guys doing? Where are you tuning in from? What's your name? Say hello. I'd love to talk to you. I wanted to spend some time today, depending on, what you guys are interested in taking a look at. I was kind of just going to spend the hour today looking at the four big names. Just see what we can find in the platform, see, just so we could kind of develop some sort of understanding of what we can expect from earnings. I don't want to assume that we know that, or that we are going to be able to figure out exactly what earnings are going to be like. We don't know. But, we can build a little bit of a viewpoint. And so that's kind of what I was thinking of spending the hour on today. If that is cool with you guys, we'll go ahead and jump into it. I will say also, we have a Twitter Spaces that we're doing today that's going to be pretty fun. That's going to be at 12 o'clock Eastern time. We've got Christian Fromhertz. We've got Sestrian Cap, Alex King from Sestrian Cap. We've got Anne-Marie Band from Anne-Marie Trades, and we've got FS Trades. These are all folks from Twitter you guys might know. They're all going to be coming on the space today, and we're going to be doing this too. We're going to be specifically talking about these four big tickers, and we're going to be getting their professional opinions on kind of what the charts are looking like. I know some of our Twitter spaces, we talk bigger picture items. Today, we're going to be talking more specifically about technicals of the four big symbols reporting. Again, that's Meta, Google, Amazon, and Microsoft. So I think it should be a really cool space. I'm looking forward to getting to talk to them and get their thoughts on kind of how everything is set up and how everything is looking. I've not heard from a single one of you guys, though, this morning. How are you guys doing this morning? There are just a few of you here. We're trying something a little different this morning. I did not promote at all. We did not promote at all that we were going live. I wanted to see how many might show up if we didn't say a word. And there are a few of you here. So thank you guys for tuning in. I'm going to jump into Meta here to start. And one thing that I like to do before doing any sort of technical analysis when it comes to earnings, I love adding some of these periphery tools. So I'm going to add analyst estimates. I'm going to add seasonality. Actually, let me add this to the same column. Let's see, insiders. I love to know what the insiders are up to, if they're up to anything. Sometimes they're not. We never know. And then I'm going to add unusual options here. So on the analyst estimate side, there isn't a ton of upgrading or downgrading. You can see analyst estimates in a couple of different ways on the platform. You can throw it up here, and each one of these bars is going to represent a different analyst. And at the end of each bar, you'll notice that each bar is a different length. And so the purpose of this is to tell us the last time an analyst updated. So some of these analysts haven't updated for a while. Some of them just recently updated. It really just depends. But we've got, you've got reiterations, you've got downgrades, you've got upgrades. So an upgrade would be going from a sell to a hold, or a hold to a buy. That would be considered an upgrade. A reiteration would be I thought it was a buy before. I'm reiterating it's a buy now. A downgrade, of course, is the opposite. It's going from a buy to a hold or a hold to a sell. This visualization is one way to understand it. Some folks like to look at this visualization. Myself personally, I like to utilize the other data button, and I like to throw it up here, and I'll show you why. So the other data button, actually, or let me turn this off too so we could see this a bit better. So for me, this is just a little, just the slightest bit easier to read. Down at the bottom of the chart, we have all of these blocks, and the blocks represent buy, sell, or hold assessments from the analysts. If you have a block that is one single color, that's going to be a reiteration. So you can hover over any of these blocks and you can read the analyst that made the assessment and what they say about it. If a block is all one color, that's a reiteration or a reconfirmation of a previous estimate. So this fellow, Mark Mahaney, he's confirmed it was a buy. He thought it was a buy before. He's saying it's a buy now. In some cases, you have instances where the block is half one color and half another. So like this one right here. On the left-hand side, it's green. On the right-hand side, it's gray. That means it means that this is a downgrade. The left-hand side represents the old estimate. The right-hand side represents the new estimate. So it's going from green to gray. That's a downgrade from a buy to a hold. So they're not overtly bearish, but they're just saying, okay, we're going to take the foot off the gas a little bit here. We were buying it. Now we're holding. And so I always like to see coming into earnings, what are the analysts doing? We're almost at the end of April here. You can look back as far as you want. I would be looking probably in the month of April, maybe a month back or so. And so for the most part, we've got a lot of reiterations, and they're all pretty bullish. We've got one upgrade here back on April 11th. Some fella from OTR Global. I'm not familiar with OTR Global, but this person said this person upgraded to a buy, and then you have one downgrade on the 17th. New Street, Dan Solomon from New Street, downgraded from a buy to a hold. So not a ton to see there. You have the last earnings report where you get a ton of analyst estimate activity. This is very, very common. You're going to get a lot of analysts reassessing their belief about a stock, post earnings. So on last quarter's earnings, we had a lot of buy activity. You had a lot of folks saying either confirming that it was a buy or upgrading to a buy. There were only a few folks who really, there was only one person who downgraded, kind of interestingly, and they said it was a hold. This guy, Nicholas Coate-Colson from HSBC, he downgrades. Is the only assessment or the only analyst that even downgraded the stock. Everybody else either upgraded or at least maintained. So that's kind of interesting. Oilek, how's it going? Great to see you. Hope you're doing well. Where are you tuning in from? Oilek is an interesting name I've never heard before. All right, so again, we're just trying to kind of gain an understanding, a generalized picture of how the market feels about any particular name. Next up, we've got seasonality here. For anybody who is not familiar with seasonality, you can measure it in a lot of different ways. You can measure relative volume. You can measure by RSI value, money flow index value, where prices relative to the particular SMAs, the 20, 50, 100. So if price is above the 20, if price is above the 50, price is above the 100, that's how it would gauge this. For seasonality particularly, I like to keep it on the preset, which is change percentage greater than 0. So essentially, this is just a green month. If a month is green, if April is green, last year it's going to mark it as a win for that particular April. And so this is looking back to 2012. This is when Meta IPO'd. And so 73% of the time, April is a green month. And you can see coming into the summer, it's actually really strong all throughout the summer historically. 73% win rate in April, 70% win rate in May, 73, 73, 73, and then you see price, or you see kind of that performance fall off a little bit in September and October, and December. Of course, February is its worst performing month. So you're coming into some, really like half the year tends to be pretty strong for Meta. Kind of interesting to know. What's up, Prosper? Hope you're doing good. Oh, nice. From Nigeria. Well, welcome. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Prosper, thanks for being here. We're going to look at Amazon here in just, we can look at Amazon next, actually. On the insider trades, you always want to know, what are the insiders doing? Are they doing anything suspect? I know you guys might have seen, we had Elon Musk's brother. What's that fellow's name? Can't think of his name right off the top. Kimball. Yeah, Kimball. Kimball was selling shares just before earnings, and he kind of has a historical. Historically, he has a tendency to be a seller towards the tops. So that's kind of interesting that Tesla has kind of fallen off since those earnings and since his sell. So it's always interesting to know what's going on with the insiders. Are they buying? Are they selling? And how much are they selling, or how much are they buying? What are they doing here? So we got a bunch of people were awarded shares. We've got this one, who is this? Jennifer Newstead, Chief Legal Officer, has been selling a little bit this month, but not really too much insider action going on here. So not much that we can read, except for to say that they're not really selling. So it's a better sign than if you had a bunch of insiders selling. Now, remember, insiders sell for all kinds of reasons, right? They could sell for any different, for all different reasons. And in a lot of cases, you'll see insiders selling quarter after quarter, and usually that has to do with their compensation. So, there is an argument for insiders. You want to really be mindful of when insiders are buying. But I like to look at when they're selling too, and I'm not seeing a ton of stuff there. So what have we gained so far? We have decided, or we have kind of learned that for the most part, analysts are either confirming or are upgrading, right? Since over the past quarter, we have a few downgrades, but for the most part, we've really got either confirmations or upgrades across the board for Meta. We don't see a lot of insiders selling, and seasonality is pretty strong coming into the summer. So those are all kind of good things, or at least all things to be kind of knowledgeable of. I'm going to throw up the unusual options widget here, and there's not a ton. What I always like to look for is circles that are quite big. This is going to represent large orders. So there's 205 puts, 400% of the open interest, 1.4 million in premium. For a name like Meta, is 1.4 million premium a lot? It's a lot, but is it really a lot? I don't know. I like to filter out some of the smaller orders, and I could do that using the premium slider bar up here. And then I like to bring in the expiration a little. We just removed. So it looks like a lot of what we were seeing up there. One second. Let me bring this back some. And then let me bring this in. So I like to kind of tighten up the expiry. Even this is too far out for me. I'm kind of curious more what's going on even just this year on the unusual options side. So you've got a lot of puts. You got a big put position for quite a ways out in October. In the near term, the largest positions that we're seeing, at least in the past 200 orders, they're all for calls. So that's kind of interesting to see. We can bring this back down. I'm going to tighten this up quite a bit. And then let me change the strike. Meta's trading to 11, so I'm going to change the strike price to like 170. I'm not sure exactly what the implied move is for this guy. I'm going to change this to 240, just so we can get a little bit tighter into the price action. And again, kind of the overwhelming look here is more call biased. Now, we can't be 100% certain if this is call buying or call selling. We don't absolutely know, but it looks like it's more call biased. So that's kind of interesting. Everything's kind of lining up in Meta. One thing we could do here, I'm going to go to the strategy tester, and I'm just going to test and see how this thing performs post earnings historically. Really easy to do that. You would just go to condition, go to earnings dates, and I'm just going to choose today. So we're saying we want to enter into the trade if earnings are today, and then we want to exit the trade after a certain number of candles. This is how we can like very quickly gauge how a stock performs post earnings. So essentially what our entry will do, if earnings are today, the candle that the earnings occur on has to close, and then we enter into the next candle, or we enter into the trade on the next candle. So essentially the day after earnings on the open, that's when we enter into the trade, and then we get out of the trade 10 candles later. I'm going to look back as far as I can, and then we'll see how this thing has a tendency to do. Again, it's just one data point, right? It's not everything. It's just something to kind of be mindful of. How has it performed historically post earnings? We can look back 10 days, 5 days, 2 days, 30 days. It's really up to you. There are no rules here. Looks like on the last earnings report, they of course gapped up, so they sold off some before bouncing and taking it higher. So 10 days later, you were actually trading down. The two previous was a really nice profit on both of those trades, and then the two before that, you had pullbacks. You had earnings came out, and then price pulled in. So looks like of the 43 earnings results they've had, you've only got a 30% win rate. You got a lot of no-go highlighting here, which means that really this isn't a very good trade to make, but it can help influence how you're thinking about things. You know, if you're thinking that you want to trade off of earnings or something like that, maybe this is something that you use to gauge that. You can, like I say, you can always look farther back. And when we go farther back, our win rate, or when we look farther out, so I extended the hold time to 30 days instead of 10. And when we do that, certain things increase here. Your max drawdown went down. Your win rate went up by 14%. Your average return is still no good, but it's just something to be mindful of. It's just another data point, right? Just reference. What's up, Austin? Thoughts on EMPH and XOM? I can look at those at the end. I really want to focus on the names that are like super relevant today. If that's okay. I guess, well, EMPH might have earnings here quite soon too, huh? Let me check and see. I mean, really, in theory, I can hang out here as long as I want. So, okay, so it does. It has earnings tomorrow. Or no, it's today, huh? April 25th. Well, let's see. Since we're here. Again, just kind of going to do the same thing. So you're coming into seasonal strength. May, June are two of your strongest months of the year. Looks like February is your strongest month of the year, but May, June also historically pretty strong. On the unusual options side, let's take a look at what's going on there. A much more mixed picture. Interesting at how much size is in January. Let me remove everything here. I'm going to increase the premium a little. And what is this thing trading at? 220. So I'm going to set this about 10% on either side. 240. 240 and 200. Some small size puts for nearer term expiry. Further out, you've got larger size. I might have made this too small. Kind of a mixed picture on the unusual options side, huh? Not really an immediate read there. Let's see how it performs 10 days after earnings. 54% win rate on 41 positions. Average return of 3.58%, 10 days post earnings. Looks like past 2 earnings results, this thing is sold off within that 10-day term. Trading above the year-to-date and consolidating above the year-to-date anchored VWAP, just below the 200 here. So that 256 level could probably be important if you do have a move higher. Watch that 256 level because they've tried to hold it. They failed at it on the last earnings report. They like kind of pushed into it and then rejected. On the analyst estimates side, what do we have? A little bit of a mixed bag. This was an upgrade. This was a so this is an initiation of coverage. This one was a confirmation. This one's upgrade. Really just upgrades. And then confirmations of holding. So not a ton of bearishness on the analyst estimate side. Let me throw back up the insiders, see if there's anything going on there. Not a whole heck of a lot on the insider side. I know a lot of folks have been talking solar for sure. Lots of rumblings about solar. So it'll be interesting to see. And then you said XOM, do they have earnings soon too? Yeah, they do, huh? So let's look at XOM here. XOM 43% win rate post earnings, 10 days post earnings. Looks like we sold off after the previous one. Kind of a mixed bag there. Average return 0.24% post earnings. If we look at unusual options, this looks a little bit more biased on the call side. Quite more green there. Let me bring this in. Yeah, quite more biased on the call side for sure. Some really big buy side orders. The 115 calls for May expiry, 3.2 mil in premium. The 120 calls for May 5th expiry. This one was the 19th. This one's the 5th. 1.2 mil in premium. 838% of the open interest. This one's 53% of the open interest. Unusual options definitely looking more bullish. On the insider side, no insider selling since February. And even this VP sold 3,000 shares. That's not really a big one. On the analyst estimate side, not a ton there on the analyst estimate side. This was an upgrade from UBS. You got a downgrade from Scotiabank. I mean, they're coming into, let me go to the monthly. Yeah, coming into all-time highs here. Looking pretty nice. Can't lie. Interesting. Let's jump over to Amazon. Now on Amazon, what do we see here? Lots of reiterations, at least reiterations. Could be some initiates, but my guess is these are all just reiterations. Because obviously analysts are following Amazon like hawks. On the insider ownership side, let's see who this Adam guy is. CEO of Amazon Web Services. Sold about $200,000 worth of shares this month. Not a big deal. Again, these are small sells. Thoughts on the last 3-day and first 2 of the month on SPY? Last 3-day and first 2 of the month I'm a little confused by your question, Austin. So not much there on the insiders. Not much there on analyst estimates. If we go to unusual options, definitely near term, quite more bullish leaning. Let me just look. Yeah, near term, quite more bullish, or call leaning. Again, like I said, we don't know for sure if this is call buying or call selling, but certainly way more focus on calls. And just based on how weak Amazon's been, my gut instinct would be that this wouldn't be call selling. Coming up into the 200-day moving average here and getting rejected. Is there a little gap there? Maybe a little gap there. Just barely, that they filled yesterday. So that 200-day moving average, obviously quite important. You can take a look since we've been, since May of last year, we've been trading below it and it has not been able to get above it. So that 200-day, very important for Apple. Oh, I see what you're saying. Unfortunately, there's not a way to do that. There's not a way to backtest and say the first, how does SPY perform the first 5 days of the month. Unfortunately. On the strategy testing side, 36% win rate post earnings. $10 days post earnings, 36% win rate. Really not all that great. If we look 30 days out, let's see if it gets any better. 56% win rate 30 days out. Still not that great of a return, an average return. You know, you got no-go highlighting here, so it's not quite what you want it to be. But again, just trying to kind of get a general sense of things. So to me, based on everything we've seen between Amazon and Meta is setting up a little bit nicer. Doesn't mean that it's going to perform better. It's just kind of setting up a little bit nicer. All data in mind. Let's look at Google. No insider information on Google. Interesting. Not a ton of analyst estimates either. Just a couple of reiterations here from earnings, from the last earnings report back in February. What's this guy? Puts instead of calls on Amazon Meta. Do you mean back testing? Yeah, Austin, no problem at all. It's a pleasure. Happy to be here. On the unusual option side on Google, kind of mixed into May, although it does seem more call heavy. But kind of mixed. On the front end here, just for late April, it does seem a little bit more call biased, but then mixed over the next few months, well into May. It's a shame we don't have any insider information. I'm surprised on that. Looks a little bit stronger just on the chart. Looks a little bit stronger than Amazon. Trading up and over its 200-day moving average. On the Strategy testing side, 10 days. Let's look at 10 days post. %44 win rate. Not really great data there. Looks like we sold off 10 days post last quarter and the quarter before. Morning, Sonia. Hope you're doing well today. Good to see you. Yeah, so far Meta seems to be setting up the nicest of the bunch, or maybe seems the strongest of the bunch. Looking 30 days out, you got a 50% win rate. Still, the data is not very good here. Austin, can you clarify what you're saying here about, you said, what about puts instead of calls on Amazon Meta? Are you asking if that's something that you can test in the strategy tester? If so, unfortunately, you cannot define anything about options in the strategy tester. You definitely got that target, Sonia. And some. What's Tesla trading at right now? 159.91. All right, so we've gone over Microsoft. We've gone over... Oh, no, we haven't gone over Microsoft. That's the only one we haven't gone over. Let's go over Microsoft. These guys are first to announce. They announced today. On the insiders, not really much here. He had a couple of sells back in February. Excuse me. But nothing pressing immediately. On analyst estimate side, looks like a lot of confirms. Probably not a ton of new analyst estimates here, but just a bunch of confirms. We have one downgrade. So the street feeling pretty bullish about Microsoft. If we look at unusual options. So what I'm doing here, I'm just filtering out stuff that's way in the future. Just looking at immediately what's going on right now. Or at least in the more near term. Yeah, pretty mixed up front. With no filtering, it kind of looks a little bit more put heavy to me. At least right up here this week, 28th through the 28th. You do have quite a bit of call action here into towards the end of May. And this is your biggest order, the 300 calls for expiry May 26th. 808,000 in premium. Not that big of an order there. Huge move off of earnings last quarter. Really, past couple of quarters have had some really big moves off earnings. You had a 17% move here within 10 days because we just run this back test. So 46% win rate for an average return of 0.7% 10 days post earnings. Looks like it's pretty mixed though. You had a nice move back in October 2021, quarter 3. You had a nice move July of 2022. And last quarter was a really nice move too. Well, this one's definitely looking pretty strong. Looks like it failed right at the August highs. The August 2022 highs. So it's going to be a big level to regain. We're trading way up and over the anchored VWAP from the year to date. So this year's anchored VWAP. Way up and over the 200 SMA. So then the question is, are Microsoft and Meta extended here? And Amazon and Google the laggards? They're nowhere near those same highs. Here's your August 2022 high on Amazon. Going back to Google, your August highs right here. And you had Microsoft just rejecting off of them. Did Meta gain them? Where are those August highs? Yeah, so Meta even gained them. So Meta technically then, the strongest, looks to me. What are you guys thinking? What's up, 88? Good morning. Hope you're well today. What's a PMG? Can you see, Austin, can you see if the stocks are lower than earnings 10 days later? Then higher? I'm a little confused by that question too, man. Oh, price machine gun. On what time frame? Oh, weekly. Woo! And now remind me, 88, a price machine gun, essentially what that means is that they never make new lows, right? Like when you look at this low and then this low and this low, this low, this low, you're just constantly making higher lows. That's what that means, right? Wow, look at that. Yeah, okay. So I see that. And so what I see as a price action guy, this is what I see. Essentially, you look at like lows that were taken, right? So here's a low that we lost. We made a new low relative to it. So then when you test the high right here that brought you to this low that we lost over here, you reject. That's kind of how I would look at this. All right, Sonia, we'll take a look at those targets of yours. Sorry I haven't gotten to them yet. I love how Sonia just pops in here and she's like, this is where the market's going. Bye. See you later. Yeah, so that's interesting. I mean, you've got Meta has made a huge move. You've got Microsoft has made a huge move. Let me go. Go to the weekly here. This is, to me, this is kind of the level that's interesting up here, just above 300. Has a premium due to the AI theme. Yeah, that makes sense. So you almost wonder then if Microsoft and Meta have been performing so well and Amazon and Google have been lagging, you almost wonder if maybe that changes. I don't know. It might. If you are not aware, we've got some new people in here. Let me send you a link to this. I'm going to be going live today with some really awesome folks. We've got Christian Fromhertz. We've got FS Trades. We've got my buddy Alex from Sestry and Cap, and my friend Anne-Marie Band. Let me link you guys. We're going to be kind of doing the same thing I'm doing here, except they're going to be providing all the analysis, and I'm just going to be sitting back and learning. So if you guys are interested in coming and hanging out with us, please do. That's at 12 o'clock Eastern today. We're going to be talking these big four and specifically the technicals of these big four. Let's take a look at Crocs. Crocs also with the machine gun, huh? Man, unbelievable. Held at a nice spot. It didn't make a new low. I would be careful here. I could see them reject here, though. Potentially. But I don't know. The fact that they held a low is interesting. I think if you hold anywhere in here, then that would set you up for a new high. Now, if they had taken this lower and actually lost this low, because this is the low that brought you all the way up, right? If they had lost it, then I would expect a rejection there. But since they held it, I kind of would expect this to continue higher. Now, it could take years, right? Like, they could reject here and do this. It could take time. They might not do it right here, but man, this is a crazy chart. When this thing wants to go, it just goes and goes and goes and goes and goes. And then when it's time to fail, it just fails and fails and fails and fails. Look over here too. Same look. Pretty much green all the way up and then red all the way down. There's just like nothing in between. That's wild. I've never like looked at, I don't think I've ever looked at the Crocs monthly before. Very interesting. Who's Andrew Reese, director? I'm almost certain that Crocs was founded here where I live, Boulder County, Colorado. So you got somebody, a director. I don't know who this Andrew Reese guy is. I don't know what he directs. But he's been selling a little bit. $4.5 million worth of shares over the past week and a half or so, 2 weeks. Back in March, he was awarded 96,000 shares. And he sold 1/3 of them. But you do have quite a bit of selling. I just wonder if this is... Oh, he sold 69. Oh, so okay, so he's awarded, interesting. He's awarded 96,000 shares. He sells 69,000 shares here. If 9,000 shares is 1.5 mil, then he makes like 10 mil here. So he sold a lot of his shares now. Yeah, he sold pretty much all of them. He got 96. He sold 27 here in the past 2 weeks. And he sold 69 here at the beginning of March. So he's pretty much sold all of his shares that he was awarded back in March. Maybe it is time to pause. I don't know. How does this thing tend to do after earnings? Let's test and see. Oops. %57 win rate. Quite high relative to the other names we've looked at. When was the last time I bought or even picked up a pair of Crocs? I've never owned a pair of Crocs, admittedly. I hear they're really comfortable, though. You know, this thing actually does, relative to the other symbols that we've tested, this thing does perform pretty well after earnings. 57% win rate. Average return is almost 2%. 10 days post earnings. But this would be the spot that I would be looking at. Like 162. You guys know I love my Head and Shoulders setups. When was the last time you bought or picked up a pair of Crocs? 88. I'm going to look at Sonia's targets real quick. DJI. No. DJX. What's her target? 34,446. So she's looking for new highs. $20 years ago. Have Crocs really been around for 20 years? That's kind of hard to believe. So what Sonia's looking for, it looks like, she's looking for them to take all these highs out. Everything from January to February. That's wild, man. I had no idea Crocs have been around that long. That's kind of hard to believe. Have they ever changed their vibe? I feel like they've probably looked the same forever. They got to be doing something right, man. They got to be like super comfortable. Maybe I'll get a pair and report back to you. The head office is literally like 10 minutes down the street from me. IXIC. Is that right? Oh, we got a lot of crap here. I think it's IXCI. No? The Qs, though, just really quickly looking at the indices here. Kind of keeping a close eye on this anchored view up from the all-time high. It's just been such a big spot. You always want to know where your average buyer owns the thing from. We are just consolidating right here in that little range, right around the anchored view up from the all-time high. SPY a very similar look. Looks a little bit better. Just because it's still trading up and over it. So what do you guys think? Where are your heads at for these earnings? Are you guys playing them at all? Are you watching them? Do you care? Some big companies reporting. Do you have any opinions? Austin, I never heard back from you regarding your question. Yeah, you think Meta sells off? You think earnings come in poorly for Meta? Unless they lay off a bunch of folks? Chips getting smacked. Let's take a look at that. Looks like an interesting spot. You've got the anchored VWAP from, what is this, from December? Okay, so you've got year-to-date anchored VWAP that they're coming right into here. You've got a fair value gap right here. 242 right with that anchored VWAP. Silicon Valley in a recession. Is this where it starts? I mean, this is kind of an interesting spot to me. You made a new high. It's a proper new high. They actually held above the previous ones. So then you'd anticipate that they're going to hold somewhere in here. Where are the stops? Is the question I always ask myself. Where are the stops? Can they get them? I don't know. It'd be interesting to see if they do. Obviously, you've got probably a ton of them down here. $52-week lows. Let's take a look at it. So this is the comp, NYSE comp. Let's take a look at NASDAQ. Doesn't look great, does it? I mean, at least this is increasing, right? So you're having less new lows. Regional banks would not be in this one, though. You want to be looking at small caps. Wow, that's loading. Shoo. These regional banks look pretty scary. Pretty scary. The one thing they got going for them, though, is they did make a new high relative to here, right? So then you would think that they'll hold somewhere above this low. Or they could end up doing exactly what they've been doing on smaller time frames lately, which is expanding the range, right? And then if they expand the range, then you'd be looking for those broadening ranges to kind of work themselves out. Kind of like what you got here. There we go. Ish, something like this. Right? They keep expanding the range on the upside. Maybe they're coming down here to expand the range all the way down. They could. Definitely creepy. What does XLF look like? Because you guys know this has been a big one. Those financials so far holding up where they need to. Everybody says you cannot have a bull market without financials participating. And so this has been the big level, that $30 spot, 30 and a half. Important previous highs, February 2007, 2008, 2018, 2020. Very important. SQM and ALB, the government just became your partner. It's like a scene out of The Sopranos. XLF is going to hold up. It has a ton of money center banks. Let's see, SQM. Is this what you're talking about? I'm not sure what you mean, 88. Explain, please. Oh, it's a lithium stock. So explain why this is important. I mean, it's at a big spot too, huh? Kind of in here. $60 looks like a big line in the sand for this one. Very similar kind of looking to XLF, huh? Albemarle. Ooh, this looks ugly. But they got to be getting close on this thing. Chile is the third largest exporter of lithium. So is the importance there because of batteries? Explain it to me like I'm a child, because I know nothing about lithium. Just being honest. They got to be getting close on this thing, though. They're trying to take these lows. You know there's tons of stops down there at 170. Yeah, the only lithium stocks I really know is like LTHM. I guess it's a pretty lame one to know. But it also looks pretty rough here, huh? Which government? Our government or a different government? Chile's government. So what you're saying is Chile's government is now kind of like running the lithium trade? Is that what you're saying? And was it not that way before? Just trying to kind of understand, because this is something I know zero about. You guys, we are at an hour. Holy moly, this thing flew by. And is it not that way now? 88? I'm going to go to the indices real quick, kind of see where we're at. Oh, big gap down today, huh? Huh. Interesting. So the government is trying to take control of the lithium trade out of Chile. Chile. Gotcha. Interesting. I don't know how that could affect things, but government trying to take control of things is generally never the best plan of action. Never ends up working out all that great. So there's that. Well, you guys, I'm going to get out of here. I've got a Twitter space to go host here shortly. If you did not get the link, I'll share it with you one more time. Again, this is 12 o'clock Eastern today. On Twitter Spaces, we're going to be live with Anne-Marie Band, Christian Fromhertz, Alex King from Sestri and Cap, and FS Trades. And we are going to be talking technicals for Meta, Microsoft, Google, and Amazon. Should be a interesting space with quite a few different perspectives. And that's really what it's all about, right? Kind of want to get these different perspectives on the technicals. I don't know what these guys are going to say. And that's why I'm excited about it, because I want to get their thoughts. And so this live stream has been a good prep for me, because now I have a bit more understanding of where we're at on all of those 4 charts. I admittedly have not dug into them myself too much recently. So now I'm versed, and you're a little more versed. And we can get more versed together at 12 o'clock Eastern time on this Twitter space. If you're around, would love to have you. I'm going to be live a couple times this week. I'll be live again on Thursday for another one of these pre-market shows. And then on Friday, I'm going to be live for PCE announcement. That's early pre-market. That's 8 a.m. Eastern time. Well, I think the announcement's at 8:30. So I'm going to be live for that, watching the market's reaction to it. So if you guys are around, would love to have you come hang out with me. I'm going to promote the next live stream. I'm going to actually tell people that I'm doing one on Thursday. So maybe we can get a few more folks here. I just wanted to see how many of you guys are paying attention without any sort of any tweets from TrendSpider, any tweets from me. So I appreciate the few of you that are here. You guys know what's up. Thank you so much for being here. If you're trading today, trade them well. Be safe out there. And yeah, join me for all of my other events this week. I'd love to see some of you guys in the house. So have a great rest of your day. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.